First up, we have Wayne Grant.
How are you this evening? It's my pleasure to be here to talk about Dr. King and his perspective on economic justice or economic injustice in America. And I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Daniel this morning, both of us on KCUR, and I was really impressed with his commentary and also with the work of the Occupy movement, Occupy KC and Occupy Wall Street. I think it's great to see young people engaged and active and advocating and standing up for change. So that's really inspirational for me as someone who grew up during the civil rights era when we as young people in high school and college were engaged in sit-ins and protest movements and marches, and so we have a lot of passion. We do know that that type of activism does make a difference. So to be a part of this process, to talk with you about Dr. King and what would he say today, I think is most important to think about. You heard his speech. He would not be happy today. You know, I think Dr. King would be troubled about where we are in America, with so much poverty, with so many gaps that separate the haves from the have-nots, and he would be giving voice to it. He would be encouraged by the Occupy Wall Street movement because he was a man of great vision who knew that when people came together collectively to address a problem, that we could achieve positive results. And I'd like to share with you just a word or two from a couple of his speeches. So you can put in context. What he said then is just as relevant now in the context of where we are. He said that new laws are not enough. The emergency we now face is economic, and it is a desperate and worsening situation. For the 35 million poor people in America, there is a kind of strangulation in the air. In our society, it is murder, psychologically, to deprive a man of a job or an income. You are in substance saying to that man that he has no right to exist. Those are very powerful words spoken by Dr. King many years ago. And then today, when you look at where we are in society, where we are, where African Americans are in Kansas City, and you look at high rates of unemployment in this nation, everybody has been impacted by that. Black, white, Latino. But in this nation and in the greater Kansas City area, African Americans are most affected by that statistic. We are unemployed at rates 2 to 3 times higher than our white counterparts. So when you see an unemployment rate of nationally of 8.5%, then you just double that or triple that for blacks in Kansas City. That's criminal in a nation that is so wealthy. When you see the number of people who cannot find jobs, who have, as a result of losing their jobs or losing their homes, and then you look at the 64127 and 64128 zip code areas in Kansas City, Missouri, with the highest foreclosure rate. And then you have people who have the audacity to say that we are living in a post-racial society, and that because we've elected an African American to the White House, that everything is great in America, yet black people are losing their homes every day. So we have to be concerned about economics, and Dr. King would be most concerned about that fact. As a matter of fact, when he was assassinated, he was beginning to shift his focus from being one of just civil rights to a focus on human rights, with a strong emphasis on poverty. And he believed that all poor people should coalesce to bring about change in economic policy in the country. That's why he organized the Poor People's Campaign on Washington, which wasn't one of his great success stories. But what he envisioned was that if you could get people to see that it was about humanity and not so much about race, that he thought that economic policy could be improved as a result of that. So So it's important to stay focused on how policy is important. But we as human beings must come together when black people and white people realize the interdependency Dr. King spoke about often, that we are socially and economically interdependent. I cannot be doing great if my neighbor is poor. And with that mindset, then more of us would then be actively engaged in trying to make a difference to change the policies of oppression in this country. It would cause us to be more urgent. And so another thing that Dr. King said is that this is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make the real promises of democracy. You have to stay focused. We have to stay focused. And, I was involved in the civil rights movement, which was a different type of a movement, and so I'm interested to hear what you have to say about movements and how they work. But I was involved in that civil rights movement, but yet I'm still involved in the movement. As part of the Urban League, we consider our organization a movement. So we're engaged in a 21st century civil rights movement that is about closing the gap in economics and education and health care and social justice and civic engagement. It's about staying the course to ensure that black people, white people, brown people all have equal access to jobs, to education, to entrepreneurship. It's about trying to impress upon our congressional leaders that the policies that are currently in place are policies that are perpetuating a bigotry. It's an economic bigotry, economic exploitation. And we must do something to change those policies. So what we're seeing in this movement is that something happened. People thought we elected Barack Obama and wound up the race. What I thought, we elected Barack Obama and people went crazy and we had a retrenchment on civil rights in this country. A fear of a black man having too much power, being the most powerful person in this nation, has caused Congress to take on, to dig in its heels and change policies. If you look at what's going on with voting rights, Dr. King would be very concerned. Because we have in South Carolina and other states in this country, people who have the right to vote now don't have it. Or their right to vote is seriously threatened. So a 21st century civil rights movement is a movement that tries to address the economic injustices. It's a movement that advances a goal of quality education for all children. All children, irrespective of race and ethnicity, deserve a quality education. It is their fundamental right to have it. Health care. Closing the gap. In a nation this wealthy, none of us should lack quality health care. So yes, health care reform may not be a perfect bill, but that's the way legislation works. You make a bill and then you have amendments. That's how you fix it. That's how you get it right. And so we have to still do that. And then social justice. We have to try and keep so many of our young men and women out of jail and in school. We have to find ways to bridge that divide and to decrease the disparities that exist with the number of people who are driving while black. And then finally, civic engagement. You must vote. You must encourage people to vote. And we must do our work